Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on a gun I've been wanting to shoot for a long time, and this is the CZ P-10C. And the P-10 is CZ's striker-fired pistol line, and the C stands for compact. Although this is a pretty big gun for a compact sized firearm, they do have a P-10F as well, and I believe all of the internals are pretty much the same. The only difference is you have a longer slide and a longer frame, and that's kind of recently put out on the market. Now, my initial impressions on this gun kind of meet all of the expectations of everything I've heard about this. The grip is fantastic. I love how it's textured. It has kind of a pyramid shape, kind of like a Glock Gen 4 type of a texture. For me, it might be just a little bit aggressive, but I think it's perfect for a duty or military style gun. It has the front and rear cocking serrations. This particular example, which by the way is on loan to the channel from my good friend Jack, is the tactical version in urban gray. Really cool color, very different than flat dark earth or olive drab that you see with many other companies. It does have a factory threaded barrel and suppressor height sights. A couple things I noticed before I took it to the range is that the slide stop is very narrow. I think this is the only thing cosmetically and functionally about the gun I'm not a big fan of. It's very close to the side of the frame. You don't really get a lot of purchase on that, and I don't know if there's an aftermarket add-on where you can add a little bit of grip to it, but it's very, very narrow. And I should say that this is a slide stop and not a slide release. I did notice that at the range. So when the slide is back, it's really kind of hard to push that slide release or slide stop down to get the slide to go home. In fact, I can't do it. So this is more of a slide stop. So pretty much you're gonna have to do the method where once you load the magazine, pull the slide back and let it go home. Now, a couple other things that are really nice features about this firearm, they say, is the trigger. Now, this trigger, in every review I have seen, they have said this might be the best trigger in a striker-fired handgun ever. Now, personally, my standard is going to be the Steyr M9A1. It's a gun that not a lot of people know about, but it is a fantastic firearm with an amazing trigger. Now, I have dry fired this here at the house before I took it to the range, and by the way, the gun is safety checked and is empty, and this trigger is pretty darn amazing. Very short reset, very tactile, and when it resets, you are right back at the wall. The trigger itself is actually pretty narrow, but it does have that Glock style dingus safety in it. I know a lot of people call it the dingus. It's just that little lever inside that prevents the trigger from coming back unless your finger is on it. But the trigger itself feels fantastic. It's very light, very crisp. Reset is awesome. So I'm hoping that this is going to translate into a fantastic shooting firearm. Now, one of the things people are going to ask is the P-10, is it like the CZ75? Because pretty much every other gun in CZ's lineup is a version of the CZ75. Sometimes it's chambered in a different caliber, or it has elongated rails or other things, but at heart it's still a CZ75. So is this a striker-fired CZ75? The answer is no. This does not have the inverted rails. The internals are completely different. This is a different gun from the ground up. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't like the CZ75 for whatever reason, which by the way, I think you're missing out because that is one fantastic firearm, but yes, it is hammer fired. And you're thinking, well, this is just gonna be the striker fired version of that gun. Well, you'd be wrong. So you might wanna give this a shot if you don't like the P09 or the P01s or the CZ75s, anything that's based on that other design. So with that said, we got this thing to the range. I'm gonna show you guys my first shots. These are just gonna be my initial impressions. Well, I simply just have to say, wow. The trigger on this gun is fantastic, and the gun itself has extremely low recoil. Now, this is a pretty big gun for a compact. I wouldn't say it's a Glock 19 size, which is the gun that I typically think of as a compact gun. This is more of a Glock 17 sized gun, so for a lot of people this might be kind of a full-sized frame, but it has very, very low recoil, even though the gun is very light. The bore axis isn't necessarily really low or anything, so it just seems to be a well-built and well-designed gun. It's extremely accurate for me. Very, very pleased with that. The only thing that I think I would want to change out would be the back strap. I think the length of pull from the back strap all the way to the front of the trigger might be a little bit short for my hands. Now, this is the grip that Jack, the owner of this firearm, did put on, and normally I don't change anything about the guns when I take them to the range. Now, this does have a multiple back strap system, so I might want to put on one that's a little bit bigger and help with that length of pull, and that's why I think I was shooting just a little bit to the left, because I was putting a little bit too much finger into the trigger guard. Well, I'm now going to try to go for some accuracy. I'm going to go for the head, still at about 7 yards, and see if I can tighten up this group. Well, all I can tell you is for me, that's a pretty darn good group for the second magazine through any firearm. Yeah, I know there's probably a lot of guys out there that are watching this video that can definitely do a lot better. Remember, I'm not an expert marksman. I'm not a competition shooter. I am just an average gun guy. So if I can get that type of grouping with this gun on the second magazine, well, I'm pretty happy. I did have one flyer, unfortunately. I'm still shooting just a little bit to the left, but I am really, really impressed with this gun. And I think a lot of that accuracy not only comes from the expert craftsmanship of CZ, but also this phenomenal trigger. Now, if you guys have been watching my channel for some time, you know that originally I wasn't really a big CZ fan. I had a couple of friends that owned CZs, didn't like them, and maybe that kind of made me a little bit biased. I said, well, also it's made in the Czech Republic. How good can they be? You know, it's a former COM-block country. Well, then I started shooting CZs, and I totally understand why everyone loves these firearms. They are just so well built. I don't think I've really shot a CZ I didn't like. I've had a couple problems with a few of them, but none of them I absolutely thought were garbage or hated. And this one, I think above all, is impressing me more than any of the other ones. Well, I'm going to give my wife, Becky, a shot at this thing and see what she thinks. She can sometimes be a little bit picky when it comes to which guns she likes. So I really should have left it in, but after she shot that magazine through the gun, she said, uh-oh. And honestly, I thought there was some type of problem. But it turned out it was an uh-oh of, I really like this gun, and I wasn't thinking I would. She asked me, do they make this in pink? Which is most of the time a hint telling me I want this gun. But she thought it shot fantastic. It was extremely accurate for her. She loved the way it felt in her hands with the exception of one thing. She said the grip texture was just a little bit too aggressive, but she could overcome that. When she released the magazine, she also had another issue, and that is the magazine release on this gun is pretty stiff. It is ambi, which is really, really nice, so you don't have to switch it out if you're a lefty. But that spring is a little bit tight. Now, for me, it's not really much of an issue, and I have longer thumbs. And if you push the button more from the front of the gun, you get a lot more leverage. She has shorter thumbs, and she couldn't reach that. And so when she tried to drop the magazine, it was a little bit stiff for her. She did get it out, and she said she would have to adjust her grip to change the magazine. So for some people, that might be an issue, but I did want to make it aware to you, and it was what she said. It was her only real gripe about the gun. Well, now I'm going to shoot this gun rapid fire, kind of in a scenario where you might want to use it in a self-defense situation, see how it does, and I'm curious if this trigger is going to help me shoot a little bit fast. Well, all I can say is, wow, this thing is awesome. Everything was on target. Normally when I'm shooting really fast, I'm just kind of point shooting and everything hit the silhouette. I'm very impressed with this gun. Now, I think CZ's main market for this is going to be military and police, and try to compete with the likes of companies like Glock and the striker-fired polymer-framed gun market, and I really think they hit a home run with this thing. When this thing was released, it took the firearms world by storm. A lot of people were saying it is the best striker-fired gun on the market and has the best trigger. It probably has, in my opinion, one of the top 3 triggers. I still have to say though, the Steyr M9A1 might be the best and beat this one out just by a little bit, but this trigger is absolutely fantastic. I don't think you need to go into the aftermarket like many people do with other CZ guns and buy some type of aftermarket trigger to make this thing work. This thing is awesome right out of the box. It also is exceptionally accurate, not only for me, but also for my wife. It shoots and points very naturally. I feel if you are kind of a new shooter or a novice shooter just looking for a high quality polymer striker fired gun, this would be a fantastic option. This is one of the guns that I like to say makes me look like a better shot than I actually am. I fully admit I am not a professional shooter. I don't take tactical courses. I'm not a trick shot. I'm just an average gun guy. And when I can get pretty good groups and enjoy shooting a gun like this, it says a lot about what went into the gun design-wise. I am extremely impressed with this gun. So I gotta see if I can get my hands on the P-10F in urban gray and the tactical version with the threaded barrel and suppressor height sights. So this is just one absolutely fantastic gun that I already had high expectations for, but after shooting it, it exceeded my expectations. This was an absolute joy to shoot. It is so much fun. It didn't give me any hiccups. It fed reliably. It was light recoiling. It was accurate. It's a very, very attractive handgun. I mean, look at this thing. That is a very nicely designed, aesthetically pleasing firearm. Well, especially if you like tactical and military style firearms. This thing just looks absolutely awesome. And of course, it is backed by the CZ legendary performance. You know, CZ makes amazing, amazing stuff. So while I think my favorite CZ that I personally owned was my P09, well, I think if I get a P10F, I'm gonna like that one even more. So I really cannot sing the praises of this gun more. I expected to like it, but I came out loving it. So I do have a few gripes about it. As I said, the texture is a little bit aggressive, but that's very subjective. I know a lot of people are going to like that. The magazine release might be a little bit stiff. The slide stop, I almost said release there, but the slide stop here is a little bit on the thin side, but I could deal with that. Takedown is really easy. You have the typical takedown lever here, just like a Glock. It disassembles pretty much the same way. Very easy to clean, and with CZ, you know it's probably going to have a huge aftermarket support. So this gun just knocks it out of the park when it comes to the Texas Gun Vault range reports, I gotta tell you. So, on my star system, how would I rate this gun? Well, this one is getting a perfect 5 out of 5 stars. Yes, I had a couple of small gripes, but as I said, they're very subjective to me as a shooter. But I think overall, everyone's going to absolutely love this gun. You cannot go wrong with it. 5 out of 5 stars, perfect review for the CZ P-10C. It's even in an awesome color. So thank you so much, Jack, for letting me get to shoot this piece of your collection. And maybe in the future, you have helped me spend a little bit of my money. Because if I can see the CZ P-10F in urban gray and the tactical model, well, I might just have to pick it up. So there you go. My range report, CZ P-10C, just a phenomenal gun and one of the best, if not the best overall, polymer striker fired handgun I have ever shot. So do you guys own a P-10? F, C, and I don't know if they have the subcompact one yet, but maybe they do. But if you own one, are your experiences the same as mine? I would love to know, because this is one fantastic gun, one fantastic model, and I highly recommend you get to go shoot one. And if you like it as much as I do, go buy it. It gets my endorsement. So there you go, my range report, CZ P-10C. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.